All right, what's going on, everybody? This is episode 38 of the First and Framerates podcast, and today it's going to be myself, Silent Gamer, also known as VF Baller. If you haven't checked out any of my Twitter timeline, you can check that out. It's at VF Baller. My other two co-hosts, they're not here today. They, I guess they had other priorities or whatever. I don't know. But that's just how it is sometimes because, we all have real lives at the end of the day. And then, we all have other things to do. But there's no worries. The show will keep going on. And, they'll be here for the next episode. Anyway, today we have a good bit of topics we want to talk about. First and foremost, I want to talk about the Jimmy Butler situation. I also want to talk about the PSN name change. And I also want to sprinkle a little bit of Madden NFL football and NBA Live. It seemed like those are the two games as far as the sports gaming community. Those games are pretty much in turmoil, pretty much on a week in and week out basis. It's like seems like something's always going on with those two games, for better or worse. So we will talk about those. Now, before I get into the Jimmy Butler situation, just for a public service announcement, a lot of things have been going on this past few weeks. I don't care what side of the political forum that you fall on, either left or right, it don't matter. Just be careful what you put on social media in general, because some things in the past will come back to haunt you. It's just, you've seen some politicians, especially with this judge, things come back to haunt him as far as the Supreme Court thing. There's other things that people are putting out based on political things. It comes back to haunt them as well. You just never know what you're going to be getting into down the road. And you have people who are evaluating you may come back and look at your social media for references or just to see what kind of character you have. So just be real mindful about putting things on social media. Myself, I kind of censor myself because of those things, because you just never know who's watching you. And I mean, for the most part, I've seen some things that happen to certain people because of that, and just putting it out there. So just be real mindful at times when you just press send. It may not be the wisest thing to do. Anyway, let's talk about this, the Jimmy Butler situation. We all know that he's been wanting to trade. He declined the contract extension that they gave him a while back. So he decides to come to practice after he said that he hasn't played basketball in a while. So he decides to come to practice and pretty much put on a show for the most part. There were times where he was challenging teammates, challenging the coach, challenging the GM, pretty much letting them know who's the man, basically. And it was quite entertaining as when I went back to look at this entire thing. Said that at one point during the practice, he took everybody from the third or the fourth string or whatever, and him by himself went with those guys, went up against the starters and pretty much dominated the starters. Pretty much just showing off. There was at one time where he yelled at the GM, Scott Layden, claiming that you need me. He didn't say it in that terms. And they said, you effing need me. You can't win without me. And there were other times where he was basically going at Tom Thibodeau as well. It was full of drama, and it was actually entertaining to see something like this because we already know his situation about him wanting to be traded, not making enough money, things just not working out with his mentality and how he goes up against Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. I don't necessarily take sides in this situation, but I kind of do want to look at it from Jimmy Butler's perspective. When you look at his perspective, he's just a different breed. He's one of these guys who, when you look at his history, he's basically built from a totally different cloth from all of these other guys. A lot of these other guys who play ball now, they've been friends with each other from middle school. They grew up together. Basically, almost anything is handed to them because of their skills. and basically they just I'm not saying they got a free ride to the NBA because it's not easy, but the way they came up, it was like there was a struggle as far as trying to be the best, but it wasn't as hard as Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was homeless at one time. He basically had to work for everything that he had, and for the most part, he has like this very old school mentality. Like he has this old man mentality, and such. He's still fairly a young player, and he treats other players as such, and it turns off a lot of these other players who did not have that type of gruff, rugged type of authority figure over them. Not to say that Jimmy Butler is an authority figure, but for him to have that presence. A lot of these players aren't built like that because of, like I said earlier, a lot of these guys were basically they were all friends at one point, and basically getting this type of attention from your other teammates is not something they're accustomed to. So and I mean, Jimmy Butler's always had this type of mentality, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It's just a different day and age in the NBA where a lot of players just don't respond to that type of stuff very well. So I understand where Jimmy Butler coming from because I know his background. He was a Chicago Bull, which is my favorite team, so I know how he is. But Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, they're it's just a little different. And it can continue to butt heads, and I know that Tom Thibodeau, the coach, he loves that type of player. He loves the type of player Jimmy Butler is. So it is going to be kind of weird how this really plays out. I still expect Jimmy Butler to be traded. Honestly, I know some teams are still going after him and are trying to get him on their squad, and I think that's what's going to happen at the end of the day because of what's going on with that situation. So I don't have any else more to say about that, but it was entertaining for the most. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens going forward with the Jimmy Butler situation and the Minnesota Timberwolves. At this moment, I don't have any quotes or anything that the other teammates have said, so it will be real interesting to see what they said down the road. But at the time of this podcast, nothing has been said from them, so that's how I'm just going to take it at that for that situation. Now let's talk about the PSN name change. PlayStation is finally letting you change your name for your online ID. And for some reason, I kind of knew this, but for some reason, a lot of people did not know that it was pretty much a hassle to get your name changed on the PlayStation Network. It's not as easy as it is on Xbox. On Xbox, you can change it as many times you want to for a fee, and it doesn't really affect anything. Well, PlayStation, the online ID is tied to a lot of things, and I remember this back on the PlayStation 3. Where your name is tied to those purchases and the trophies and all this stuff, where it could be a problem if, let's just say, for instance, something as small as you delete your account off of a PlayStation, all those games are going with it. They just don't work. You have to re-sign in and re-download those games. So I kind of knew back then there was something weird about that. Well, the flip side to this is with Xbox, I'm not 100% certain, but I know you can, if you download a game on your hard drive, it works. It doesn't matter. The game is yours to keep. I think it's still tied to your name download-wise, but you'll still be able to play it on that Xbox. I know on the 360 anyway. Well, let's talk about this online ID change. Now, they're finally going to let you do it. They're going to start with the software beta, and you'll be able to change your name first for free, and after that, it'll cost $10 US. $5 for PlayStation Plus members. Now, with this name change, there's a caveat to it. Yes, you'll get to change your name to whatever you want it to be, but the problem with it, for the most part, that some games will be incompatible. In other words, the compatible games are games that were released after April 1st, 2018. So this could be an issue for some people who wants to go back and play their other games. Now, for me, I play a lot of games on different platforms, and for me, I love to go back and play my games on my PlayStation 3. I still think it's a fantastic console, and there are some games on there I just love to play to this day. NCAA 14 is one of them. Now, I do have a digital copy of that, but I'm going to get to that, the question of that shortly. Now, with that being said, if you have older games, you may not want to do this. You may not want to change your name because if you're an old head like me, you may have that issue. Now, I'm pretty sure that issue applies to a lot of digital games or whatever the case may be, where it comes to if you change your name, a lot of games won't work. They're already saying that they made it clear that not all PlayStation 4, PS3, or even PS Vita games are guaranteed to support the feature. So there's going to be a way where you can go back to your old ID. Now, once you go back to that old ID, you can, I think it's a way where you can have both. Yeah, you'll have a choice to have both IDs present. But if you have both of them present, you won't be able to change it after that. It'll be locked. So, yeah, it's cool to have it back and forth or whatever the case may be. Or you can have both of them showed up so both of your friends can recognize you. All of your friends can recognize you on PSN, but once you do that, you won't be able to change it or not. It'll just be locked. So if you change your ID, just be mindful that, if you are playing older games or like PlayStation 3 games, you may not be able to, or even games before April 1st of this year, they may not work. Now, for me, like I said, with digital games, I play NCAA 14. If I change my name, I may not be able to play that game now. That will suck because I still love playing that game. Now, I'm pretty sure it won't be an issue if you have a physical copy of a game. It will be real interesting on the PlayStation Network if you do have a physical copy of the game, and because your name change is different, it won't work. Now, I doubt that'll be the case. I think this really applies to digital games because all digital games are tied to that PlayStation name. So it could be an issue. So I just think it just goes back to the way that PlayStation set up their infrastructure. I think it was a way where everything was tied to that name, and this could be the reason why they were so reluctant to actually let you change your name because of these issues. Looking back, hindsight 2020, everybody be like, yeah, why didn't they do it like Xbox? Or why didn't they do it like Steam or whatever the case may be? I mean, I don't even know what Nintendo policy is. Nintendo Online just doesn't exist in my book. So, I don't even know how they do theirs. But, it just makes you wonder why they didn't, do it that way. Cause, it just seems like, PlayStation is just, I'm not saying behind the times, they just do things a little bit different. And it's kind of weird, but at the end of the day, look, PlayStation is actually listening to their fans. Because I think a lot of people are going to change their name. I would love to change mine, but like I said, I am kind of really worried about that. But I can see a lot of people doing this, and they're listening to everybody. They already did a thing with crossplay. They're starting to support that. So that's going to be great as well. So I can't wait to see how this works out. It's going to be in 2019 where you'll be able to do the name change, and you'll be able to see how that goes. So we'll see once the beta rolls out and see who do the beta, do the name change, and see how it works out for them. And I'll come back and report that as well and see how it works out. All right, we're going to jump into another topic. We're going to talk about Madden real quick. Madden NFL 19 is a good game. Don't get me wrong. But I see where a lot of people, and I've noticed this, a lot of people have pretty much, they kind of abandoned the game for the most part. They're just not having fun with the game, and it's kind of disheartening because it's not a bad game. This game is actually pretty good this year. Now, as for me, I've been going back and playing other games in general. You know, I've had a crazy backlog I've been trying to deal with, and I've been knocking it down. I've been knocking these games down and having fun with them. And I went back and I've been playing an older version of Madden on my computer, you know, Madden 08, and it's just, I don't know, man. These games are just timeless. And for me, I'm actually having fun with it. And I understand that everybody wants a simulation experience, but I feel like I'm getting a good mix of both with Madden 08. And I'm also playing NCAA 11 on the PlayStation 2. Now, both of those games have updated rosters, and I'm just having a blast playing those games. Now, I've come across a lot of other people on Twitter, other people who came to me and said that they're just not having fun with Madden 19. And to me, it's kind of just disheartening because it's actually a pretty good game. If it wasn't for my backlog and other games I've played, I would put more time into it. For the most part, I probably wouldn't even be, you know, trying to click on the Madden 08 PC because I'd have been playing the other games. But it just wasn't convenient. I just decided to go in and I just clicked on it just to see what's going on, and I just got myself hooked on Madden again. No, Madden 08. So, but yeah, a lot of people that I know that follows the podcast, people follow me on Twitter, they're just not into Madden like they used to be. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a community out there who's actually playing Madden, streaming Madden, having a great time with Madden. I know one guy, he put out a great set of sliders that a lot of people are loving right now. Shout out to Neo on Twitter. I think his Twitter handle is I'm the Regular Guy. You can check him out if you want to check out his sliders for Madden 19 and you want to give it another go. But for me, I think just with Madden 08 for the PC, shout out to Dollar Jr. I mean, he was really on this way before I was. I just think this game and the way the game, the community on that end pretty much set up this game to be a fantastic game for the PC. You know, you can play the game at very high resolutions, really good, you know, very good frame rate. You can also play this at you know, very, very clean and very intuitive. I mean, and another thing about these older games, you don't have to worry about a patch this, patch that. Everything is like being patched for the most part. Another update here, another update there, and you have to make a lot of changes if you do make sliders. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot of changes. You have to you got to make changes if they're with your sliders if things that go wrong. I tend to not have to like to deal with that too much. Not to say that sliders aren't a bad thing, because they're great. They really help out with what's going on with the game, and it enhances the game significantly. But for the most part, it is kind of a hassle at times when you have to just, you know, go and play. You just can't pick up and play the game and just enjoy yourself. I think at the end of the day, I think for me, that's why I don't really like to play the new games that much. I think they're good, but I always feel that you're one patch away of breaking the game, and I just want my games to be left alone. You know, but you know, the games don't come out as clean as they used to. So, I mean, you have to deal with that as well. So, what do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts about the Madden situation. I mean, I know some people, I mean, even tournament players are just not playing the game anymore. And it's, you know, they're just not having fun with it. And it's disheartening because, like I said, Madden NFL 19 is not a bad game. It actually plays pretty well. It's just that, I'll just put it like this. I think a lot of old heads, guys who grew up in the early 2000s playing games, not actually being young in the early 2000s or being born in the early 2000s or the mid 90s or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about people who like really was playing these games back then. Kind of miss what they had back then, and a lot of people are really realizing that, look, these games back then were really good, and it was just much of a simpler time, and as we grow older, we just wanted to be a little more simpler. There's a lot go into these games nowadays, and when you add a lot of stuff to them, and you have to do this, that, and the third, it kind of turns people off after a while. They'll be like, yeah, I'm done with it, because a lot of people don't have time to really go in and deal with the fixing of a game. You know, a lot of people just want to play, and I had to realize that myself. I'm one of those people. I just let's give me the game that works, and I'll take care of it from there. I think that's why NBA 2K19, for the most part, even though it has its issues, it hasn't been anything out of the way that made you change things up. You know, I know the ball, the stealing of the ball and the spamming of the steal button has been tweaked a little bit, but for the most part, I think that game been running pretty well. And it's not to say anything wrong with NBA Live, but NBA Live had a lot of changes that's just upgrading the game, not necessarily gameplay fixes that you have to change things. And with that being said, I want to segue into NBA Live, because NBA Live had another patch that just came out, and this patch is very significant. You get to shoot around with your your creative player. You get to edit rosters for franchise mode. I mean, you see what I'm saying? When you look at these things that are changing the game for NBA Live, it's more of it is adding things, not necessarily fixing gameplay features. And with that being said, I played a few games. The gameplay hasn't really changed much from the last patch, but the addition to some of these things that they're putting in the game really, really helped the game of NBA Live 19. I'm glad I was able to edit some players, because some players are just having the wrong numbers. Some players just looking kind of wonky. So I was able to change that. But for the most part, I'll say this at the end of the day. If you want to play a pretty decent basketball game, NBA Live 19 is your game. On top of that, if you just want to play a game and not worry about injuries too much, and you just want to play a good franchise mode, I'm not going to say it's a good franchise mode because all the bells and whistles don't work, but I think it's pretty decent where you can go through a season and just actually enjoy yourself. There's no in-game injuries, so like I said, if you don't want to play with the injuries and you're not worried about that too much, I mean, that's your game. For me, I play it casually. I think it's pretty decent. I like some of the things that are going on in the game. It just doesn't touch 2K ball. NBA 2K19 is still the superior game. It's probably the best sports game that I've ever played. And, it's just that where you're looking at NBA Live, and it's like, well, can it continue to go in an upward, go up in an upward motion to make their game continuously be better? Because outside of that, you just don't, outside of that, you just have NBA 2K19 or NBA 2K series, which is a phenomenal series at the end of the day. I mean, even with their bugs and glitches at times, it plays out very well. I mean, at the end of the day, no game is perfect, but it also, at the end of the day, you want the game to be intuitive, you want it to be immersive, you want it to be fun, and most important, you want it to be sim. Especially for these type of games who want a simulation aspect. You want it to give you those avenues to actually, dwell into and actually have a good time playing these games. And for the most part, every single game has every single sports title pretty much giving you that. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at Madden, I think Madden's well is starting to run pretty dry. I mean, it's been basically the only game out there for a long time as far as a new football game. And people look at it and they just don't feel, nothing new. The games just feel like football, but it don't feel like it's really, really pushing, it's really, really pushing the pushing the envelope to be, further than what it could be. And I think that's why a lot of people just look at the game and just be like, well, they just look at it and just, they don't know what to say. They're kind of speechless. Some of them just don't play it as much anymore. But NBA Live is, they're continuously trying to make the game better, and that's a good thing. And I think that's going to be great for the basketball community. I just wish that the game was a little bit better to be a real contender to 2K. I think right now it's just a decent alternative. So, well, yeah, I think that's going to be it for the podcast. I don't have anything else to add. I would say this. I am loving NHL 19. I had that on EA Access. I'm definitely going to purchase that when that come about. I'm really going to get into that, because I thought NHL 18 was it. 19 is significantly better, and franchise mode is where it's at. And I just started my franchise, and it's a really good game. Another game that gives you all the aspects of immersion, simulation aspects, and it's fun. I mean, you just can't beat that. So I hope you guys just enjoyed the podcast. And like I said, my co-hosts, they're not here today. They just had other things to do, I guess, but it's all love. We all know where it is. Like I told you guys before, we all have regular lives. This could be a priority, but at the end of the day, we have other things to do. So I do appreciate those guys when they do come through, and we make a great podcast. And I hope you guys really listen and really enjoy what we put out. You can always find us on SoundCloud. You can always find us on your favorite podcast app. I have the RSS feed in the pinned tweet on my Twitter, so you can add it to your podcast app, the favorite podcast app, where you can find us and you can continuously listen to us wherever you go. So I hope you enjoyed. Hope you guys all enjoyed. You guys know what to do. If you listen to this on YouTube, you can like, dislike, leave some feedback. And I hope you guys enjoyed. You guys take care. Peace.